Hello everyone, my name is Neeraj and I am the part of Kepro open source platform working as a cloud infrastructure lead. Today I am going to discuss about simple storage service. So in the simple storage service we are going to discuss about what is S3 and its feature, what is the S3 bucket, creation of S3 bucket in lab and use of S3 storage. So Amazon S3 is a serverless storage where you can create a own folder, you can upload the object and you don't have to mount with any server or virtual machine. And this is one of the oldest storage service provided by Amazon. So let's see. It's a cloud bucket storage. It's also called as serverless storage, unlimited storage. Unlimited storage means if you are going to store any file on the S3 storage, you don't have to provision like I need 100 GB of space first. As long as you need, you can acquire. That's the reason it's unlimited. Only store object. So here object means file. You can only store file, either it's a binary or it's any kind of file. It's not going to check the file format. You can only store files. Highly durable, a scalable service, yes. Cannot mount or unmount it. As I told, you cannot attach or associate or deassociate this S3 storage with any of the virtual machine. You cannot mount and unmount because it is a serverless storage. Cannot install OS and application or database. Yes. Why? Because it is already mentioned here only store object, means that you cannot install binary in this you cannot install binary in this storage. You can only store files. So in so what is S3 bucket? So here S3 bucket, suppose whenever you have to use an S3 as an storage, you have to create a bucket. In layman language, nothing, it's a file, it's a folder you are going to create, how you create in the Linux system. But why it is saying the term, using a term bucket, because a lot of sub resource, or you can say a lot of other dependent configuration setting, in normal language configuration setting depend upon this folder name. That is the reason it is called as a bucket name. And once you create a bucket, within that again you can create a subfolder. There is no problem. So let's see what is the bucket in S3. Bucket is nothing, is a container or folder that you can create in S3 bucket whenever you have to use the S3 for the storage. They created with a universal name, that is important. Like suppose you have to store some file, so you have to create an S3 bucket. So once you have to create an S3 bucket, you have to keep a proper naming convention in the mind, because that should be regardless of your region, account, it should be unique all across the AWS. And once you are using it, you have to think before drop it, because once you drop it, the same name may not available for you, or maybe someone would have used. So AWS doesn't guarantee that. So it's a container or folder created in S3, created with universal name. Bucket ownership cannot be transferred. So once you create a bucket, the ownership with be that account only. You cannot transfer to other account. No limit to number of objects that can be stored. So once you create an object S3 bucket, in that there is no limitation like what would be the number of file, like you can only put 20 file, 100 file, 500 file, nothing. There is no limitation on the number of files. A single file size from 0 to 5 terabyte can be uploaded. So there is a limitation for the single file. What would be the size? The maximum size can be 5 terabyte. 100 bucket per account can be created by default. So if you have an account and you have to create a bucket, you can create up to 100 bucket. But if you have to go beyond the 100 bucket, yes, you can raise a service request with an AWS and check with that. Once created, region cannot be changed. So that is also important. While creating a bucket, you have to keep in the mind which region your project is going on, because I told you while creating the bucket you need to keep naming convention, So name should be universal and you should be created in a correct region, because you cannot change the region. So you have to keep, because if you're creating S3 bucket for some storage and that might belong to an application, and an application can be running on another region, so that will be a challenge. So S3 bucket name, there is a rule for naming the S3 bucket in all the AWS region. What is that? The bucket name must be unique across all existing bucket names in AWS S3. As I told, it should be unique. Bucket name must comply with the DNS naming convention. Means that if you are using a DNS service, so using that name also you can create your bucket name. That is not a problem. Bucket name must be at least 3 or not more than 63 character. Bucket name must not contain uppercase character or underscore. So you cannot start your bucket name with an uppercase and you cannot put anywhere underscore. We'll see that in the lab. Bucket name must start with a lowercase letter or a number. You can start with a lowercase letter and the number. And the bucket name must not be formatted as an IP address. So you cannot put an IP address like 192.162.6.5 or 6.678 whatever. So you can't put like that. So these are the points you will always have to keep in the mind whenever you are going to work with an S3 bucket or while creating the S3 bucket. So that's the reason I told. This is a kind of folder once you create it, but once you create it, a sub resource get associated with that. And within that, again, if you create any folder, this will not get associated because everything will be applied here. So once you create a S3 bucket, a sub resources get associated with that. What is that key value? You can do for what purpose you are creating the bucket. On description you can put control list will become cross region replication. Like once you put any object means any file in this bucket, you can create another bucket in another region. Whenever there is an update here, the file will also get copied there. So that you can, that kind of configuration setting at bucket level you can do. Bucket policy you can set, like I told, IAM user, like which IAM user you want to give permission on this bucket. So you have to either attach the policy to the IAM, or if you are a bucket owner and you don't know the usernames, so you can set the bucket policy on what basis whoever the user can access my bucket. Event notification, any loading, uploading, and any event if you want to set, you can set notification at the bucket level. Location, life cycle management, we'll see that. Tagging also you can do for what project purpose the bucket has going to create. If you can website, you can create a bucket and you can use this as an static website. I repeat, a static website. And there is a feature called transfer accelerator. It will come like when it will come into picture when you have a bucket and you want to create a cloud front for that. So you can use transfer accelerator service. So whenever you create a bucket, this kind of services or resources get associated with the bucket. Let's see. We'll go in the lab and we'll see that. See, I have already logged in Capro training. Now we'll go to services. We'll go to S3. Oh. Sorry. I have already created a bucket. Some bucket is there. Let it be. Yeah, let's create a bucket. So the bucket name I told you, if you put N, see this red, it cannot be in uppercase. So Capro underscore demo. See, bucket name invalid character, you cannot take. Okay, if you want to put 196.12. See this 102.11. bucket name must not resemble to an IP address. Okay, if I want to put APRO Capro, hyphen will work. DEMO demo 2345 number, all three. We can do this. So bucket name is a unique. Okay, see here, region. So you have to keep in the mind, like, which, if I am creating the bucket, which region, what is the purpose of creating this bucket, which region you will have to create. All this keep in the mind before creating. So if you choose, I can choose this for US East region, and if you want to do the setting from existing bucket, you can click here and you can go down, and if you want to whatever the existing setting of the existing bucket, you can do it. You can leave as of now. We'll go to next. So bucket name and the region must be keep in the mind while creating, like what could be the name and which region we are going to create, it is correct or not. Then come to next. Oh my god, pro demo, let's see, it will come. So we'll put 678 and let's see if it is coming. It will not come. Now versioning will come on this versioning and on log. So you can key value, you can put key, what you want to track the project, you can put the for what purpose, what reason. If you want to put some detail, you can put it. Object label login, all this setting will come here. Object means whenever a file is uploaded, you can create a cloud trail. Cloud trail will come with the monitoring purpose. It's AWS tool. If you want to put automatically encrypt your object in S3, so there is a called automatic encryption also in advanced setting. If you want to put, so you want to lock object, locking I will come later on. So this CloudWatch is generally, if you want, you can enable it. Basic part will be enabled. If you want to put advanced, you have to pay. So now go to the next. See this. By default, see this, click means that manage public access. By default, whenever you create a bucket, the bucket will be private. So let it be. Now click next. See this bucket name. So before reviewing, before creating, it will come for the review. Bucket name, versioning is enabled or disabled, server access log is enabled or disabled, any tagging, object level logging is enabled or disabled. All this will come. So here true permission, true means publicly accessible is disabled. See, pro demo 1 2 3 is, see, access list bucket and object not public. When it is created, this date. Let's click on that. Now upload a file. Let's set upload a file. Now upload a file called hello text. See, while upload the file, if you put next, I told it will ask, see, come here, it will ask for first if we want to give public access or public access, if you want to give or not on this object. So I'm uploading the object in a bucket which is not public. So if I put here grant this public and I put click here, just I want to show some error. So it should throw an error. Yeah, see this, it's throwing an error. What error it is throwing? Option request deny, means that if by default your bucket will be private, and any private bucket which is not public, if you want to upload a file and while uploading itself you are saying to make it public, it will throw an error, it will not upload it. Now come to the second point, I am not making public. Now see, there is a standard storage class, will come into that. There is a lot of standard intelligent, so you have to choose in a storage class while uploading the object, not while creating the bucket. Now you can click permission, upload it. This will get uploaded. See, this will get uploaded. This is the object URL or endpoint, object endpoint. So using this link you can access the object. But if I click on make it public, see, it will throw an error. Why it will throw an error? Because the bucket itself is not public. So we'll go and first we'll go to permission. So now click here. Now we'll disable both. We'll come in detail. This is for access control list for the object, and this is for the public bucket policy. So both we have to disable it. And see, we have to write confirm. Why? Like suppose by default, sorry, by hurry if someone is doing, by mistake if someone is doing. So once you type writing, it will be make a concentration. So because of that, everywhere when you put OK, it will ask to type. Now come here and see. Come here and see that object can be public. Now the object present in Capro demo, by default it is not public, because if I go and click here and click on click here, it will still access denied. Why? Because now I have made bucket as a public, but the file inside the bucket itself is not public. So now I will make it public and it will not throw error. Now I will go and refresh here. See, hello, welcome to the cloud session. So this is how you can create a bucket and you can upload a small file. This is just an example, an introductory part of how to use an S3 storage. Now I told you, like when you create a bucket, okay, there will be a resources associated with that. So click in the property, see this versioning, server access log, static web hosting, object level logging, default encryption, come to permission. So you can use bucket policy, public access setting, access control, come to in management section, you will get life cycle, like what will happen to replication, that you can set to cross region replication, like I have seen in introduction. Analytics you can do. These are new things you can do with an S3 bucket. Matrix you can check it. So these all are present at bucket level. Okay. So within the bucket, Capro demo 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. If I can create a folder, I can create a folder also. Test demo, I can create a folder. And within the folder, if I want to upload, I can upload the same file. Hello text. Okay, even I want to make it public, I can make it public and I can upload it. See, but for this the endpoint will be different. See this will be s3.amazon.com bucket name, and then test demo, and then hello text. So but I told you, like, what is the difference, why the terminology uses a bucket name, because all the life cycle things are associated with this. If you click on test demo, there is nothing. This folder doesn't have any resources associated with that. Yeah, there is a resources associated with the bucket level. Also there are some property, storage class, encryption, metadata, tagging, object log, permission, select from. When you're using Athena, you can do that, but there is nothing at. If you click on demo test, within the demo test the file is, but in the demo test there is no cycle. So whenever you create a bucket, you can create a bucket, and within the bucket you can create a folders. So why the bucket is there? It's a kind of namespace where a lot of other property associated with this. So when we always talk about either a bucket or either object, within within that, if there is a folder, this always comes as a subfolder. Within the folder also, you can also type demo test1, test demo sub folder, like you can also do that. If you also click on this, there is nothing. So now it would be clear to you like how to use this S3 bucket, because if S3 bucket is there, a lot of property are associated with that. What is versioning, server access log, static website, website hosting, object label. In permission you can see, in management also you can see, replication, what is lifecycle management in S3 bucket, all this you will see. Now come to the next session. So now the lab is done. Now the use of S3 bucket by other AWS resource. So it's just a kind of use case, like suppose you have an S3 bucket, you have a storage. So what are the other AWS resources that can use it? So AWS Kinesis, while loading the data, you can use S3 as an stage area, S3 storage. For RDS snapshot, you have a databases running, you want to take the snapshot and you can put your snapshot to S3 storage. You can use a Redshift database, you can put their storage or you can take that snapshot, or for the staging purpose also you can use it S3 bucket. DynamoDB for the putting your table, you can put in S3 bucket. Big data analytics, if you have a raw data you want to dump into any storage area, you can put it on S3 bucket. Your files, Elastic MapReduce, if you have if you are using Elastic MapReduce, EMR setup for the Hadoop infrastructure, if you want a staging area where you can upload your data, you can use S3 bucket. For the content and media storage, if you have a lot of software that you want to store somewhere, you can use S3 bucket. Even for your personal use, a lot of video files are there, songs are there, or any other credential files are there you want to store, you can create a bucket, you can store it. The backup and archive from on-premises to cloud, like suppose you have on-premises backup and you want to remove the dependency on a tape, you can come and store to S3 bucket. For a static wave hosting, as I told, you can enable S3 bucket for static wave hosting. You can do that. All will this see as for the, we'll go in a depth, we'll see the use of S3 storage. Now, what is the takeaway from this session? S3 is an object-based storage, allow you to upload files. Files can be stored up to 5 TB in size. Single file we can store up to 5 TB in size. Unlimited storage, there is no minimum provision of storage required. Like suppose I have a 5 GB of file today, so I will store it. I have to pay for 5 GB of space. Tomorrow if I have a 10 GB of space, I'm putting a file of 10 GB of space, I will pay for 10 GB of space. It's nothing like first I have to acquire and then I have to put file, nothing. Files are stored in a bucket, yes. The S3 bucket name must be unique across all the region and account, yes. An example of endpoint of object or the bucket name is https or s3.region.amazon.aws.com/bucket name then object name. This is the format. Other AWS resource can use S3 bucket in their storage purpose. Yes, that we have seen that. Now, what would be our next topic? We are going to discuss about S3 storage class. I have shown you in the while creating the bucket that when you upload an object, there is a storage class. So in the next session, we'll discuss about S3 storage class, then use of Amazon Glacier, S3 bucket lifecycle management, and lab on storage class and lifecycle management. Thank you, and let's keep learning. You can write us to our feedback@kepro.co.in. Apart from that, if you want to learn blockchain, cloud, data science, ETL, Datalake, DevOps, big data testing and cloud testing, you can follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter and LinkedIn. Thank you again, and let's keep learning.